Hello everybody, this is the Stuff I Heard podcast, and I'm your host, Josh Peak. Let's hit record, shall we? Hey everybody, today happens to be Wednesday, August the 14th, 2019, and welcome. Thank you for joining in to the Cedar Slab Studios here at the Peak household. Let's talk about a few things, shall we? Let's talk about what's going on in the world of Bert Kreischer. You guys know that I'm a super fan of Bert Kreischer. If you don't know, go back and listen to a few episodes. You're probably not going to find a bunch of them that I don't at least mention him or his wife, Leanne Kreischer, who also has her own podcast, Wife of the Party. Bert hosts his podcast called the Bertcast. Okay, so here's the thing. I've gone to see Bert 2 years in a row. Well, I say 2 years in a row, 2 times in a row. I went to see him in 2018, February 2018, when he came to Charlotte with my brother Alex. We got tickets and saw him at the Comedy Zone in Charlotte, which is a great venue. It's underneath a Mexican restaurant, which is weird. When you're going looking for the place, you're like, where is this place at? And the bartender's like, oh, it's downstairs. You're like, what? You go downstairs and like there's a big room down there and they can fit quite a bunch of people, and it's kind of an intimate setting. I've seen Joey Diaz do comedy there. It's a good spot. Now, I live in Florence, South Carolina, so for me that's about a 2.5 hour drive depending on traffic. And if I'm planning on going there, this is not like a venue I can go to, watch the show, and then come home. Because it's kind of a drive, and you know, when comedy goes on at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and you're not out of there till around midnight, that's kind of a rough drive to get back home. You gotta imagine if you're going to see comedy, you're gonna have a few drinks because you're, enjoying your time. You want to be loose, and have a good time and whatnot. And hey, the Mexican restaurant makes some good food, and there's other restaurants around that area. But you have something to eat, you have something to drink. You kind of just want to go back to the room later and sleep it off, and then get up the next morning and drive home. So I've been up there, like I said, twice, and I've booked hotel rooms and gotten an Uber to take me. One of the times my wife dropped me off and came back and picked me up later, because like I said before, she's not a comedy fan. She's like, no, you go have fun, I'll drive you, it's fine. I don't know. Anyway, so it's a tough nut to crack. So anyway, the next time I went to see Bert in that February of last year, I took my brother, and we got an Uber there, we got an Uber back. It was great. We had a good time. A good time was had by all. And that was right before, it was actually the week before, he was able to record his Netflix special, Secret Time, which to me is still one of the funniest comedy shows I've seen. It's good. It's really good. He talks about his family, he talks about different stories of things he's done, and it's hilarious. And if you're not a Bert fan, you watch that show, you're going to be like, oh, this is good. Okay. So at the very end, he closes the show with like an encore deal, and he starts saying, when I was 22, I got involved with the Russian Mafia, and here's how it goes. It's a famous story about him robbing a train. If you type into YouTube, Bert Kreischer, Bertkreischer, The Machine. Okay, that's the title of the story, The Machine. You're going to get a lot of examples of it. There's one on there where the lady does sign language next to him that's really funny. She does it live at a comedy venue, and it's hilarious. There's some animated ones that are pretty cool that people put animation to. They kind of look like South Park characters. Anyway, so that's kind of what got the ball rolling with me being a fan of Bert, is that story. And then I did the deep dive into podcasting, and then he started his own podcast, and I've listened to every episode. I even listened to the one where he sang the pirate song. I listened to the ones that he's deleted. He did one with Pete Holmes where they sang a song. They were playing a game. Let's sing songs that you think you know the words to, but you don't know the words to, and we'll make them up as we go and see if we can get it. And one of the songs was the Tom Petty song, Free Fallin'. And Tom Petty has a very aggressive group that owns the rights to his music, and they deleted him in a hurry. They were like, nope, you got to get rid of that because that's our monetization. You can't even play our music. And the thing about the internet right now is it's a huge thing about copyright, about who owns what, who owns the properties of whatever. Even I've come across that. I looked on my YouTube recently, and there was a new feature on there about copyright, and I clicked on it, And come to find out, there's people out there like taking my entire YouTube persona and playing it as their own and trying to get monetization for it. I had no idea. I was like, what? When did this happen? How long has this been going on? This is a new button that's now a feature on YouTube. And it's like, hey, this looks like something that is yours. And I clicked on it and I was like, well, yeah, they just recorded my entire episode of something and replayed it as their own. That's not cool. I mean, come on. If you're gonna, like, you know, use something that I've got, reach out to me and be like, hey, you know, I'd like to use something from this or whatever, and is it okay? At least ask, you know? But again, I'm not creating music. Like, this whole thing with Tom Petty was him creating music. Anyway, I got way off subject here. I know right now if you're thinking about, all right, Josh, where's the train of thought here? You were talking about Bert. Okay, so let's go back. So, Bert has his podcast. It's really good. He's up in like the 300s now for episodes. And about 100 episodes ago, he hired a guy to be his engineer. Okay? Now, this guy's name's Halston Ray. He is a musician and he's a podcast engineer. He's very tall, young fella. Apparently lives near Bert. Bert was out walking his dog one day and bumped into him, and they know each other. And he was like, "Hey, I'd be happy to help you, and I'm trying to get into doing this full time." And since then, Halston's worked on a bunch of different podcasts. He also does Leanne's podcast, Wife of the Party, and he does one with Ron Funches. I can't remember the name of it, but if you Google Ron Funches and podcast, you'll find it. Something to do with mental health. Getting Better All the Time, I think is the name of it. Anyway, this is the Stuff I Heard podcast, not the Stuff I Know podcast. If you want that, go to Google. There's plenty of people out there that'll tell you the facts. I'm just telling you what I heard. So it's loosely based on the truth, kind of like a parable. Anyway, so Halston put on Instagram yesterday and Facebook, Twitter, I just recorded my 100th episode with Bert. It's been an amazing year. Thanks for the opportunity. And Halston's in the video with his shirt off, and Bert's behind him with a shocked look on his face, like, what? And it's funny because usually Bert's the one who's got his shirt off, okay? And, you know, Bert did a thing this past winter where he took his, this past summer or spring, whatever, took his daughters to a LA Kings game, and he got interviewed by a lady, a reporter, asking her about, you know, him being an excited fan. And of course he always takes his shirt off at places, and he did comedy up in Canada, and up there whenever he took his shirt off they would take their shirts off and they would say tarps off for the boys. And apparently this came up in the show Letterkenny that's on Hulu. Whenever they have hockey going on, they would take off their shirts and they'd say tarps off for the boys, like in support or whatever. So Bert did this chant, tarps off for the boys, tarps off for the boys. So then on Halston's thing, whenever he posted it, I noticed myself and others were writing him, tarps off for the boys, you know, kind of as a salute to Bert and to Letterkenny and to Bert's comedy and the fact that we listen to the podcast. It's sort of an inside joke, but the people who listen to it kind of get it. It's sort of like Whitney Cummings posting videos and photos of that creepy sex doll android thing that she's got, that she's programmed to. It looks like her and it kind of sounds like her, and she taught it to say some things that are like her. When she did Joe's podcast, Joe's like, so what's her name? And they jokingly started calling her Bear Claw. So ever since then, people have been hashtagging whatever she posts about the thing as hashtag Bear Claw. So anyway, back to Bert. Okay. So, 100 episodes with Halston. I can tell you that having Halston there has made the sound quality better, it's made the experience better for the listener, it's made the video better. Watching it on YouTube, like I watched this last episode that he did with, there's a guy that's a co-owner of Freewaters Sandals. What's his name? I gotta look it up. My memory, you know, it is what it is. Let's look, B-E-R-T. Bert Kreischer. Okay, so this guy is, where's his name? Come on, Josh, do it. Where's his name? It doesn't have the name written on here. I've written his name, I know that. Anyways, hashtag bring back the Dylan. Apparently, this company, Freewaters Footwear and Freewaters Sandals, they have a flip-flop. They're made, I want to say in Clearwater, Florida. They have a flip-flop that Bert likes. Bert's from Florida. He's from the Tampa, Florida area. He has weird tactile issues about wearing shoes, and these flip-flops are apparently super comfortable. This one that's called the Dylan. Now, the thing about this Freewaters group is they, along their pursuit of making this company, is they wanted to give away water, clean drinking water, to people in need. You know, people in Haiti and the Philippines and in Kenya and stuff like that. And they've got like an outreach program in place so that, you know, every time you spend money on buying a flip-flop, they get to donate money towards this project. It's sort of like a charity thing to do. But it's sort of a business model too, because of the name of the company is sort of surrounds them doing this. And this guy, he came on Bert's podcast because Bert has used his platform for like the last, I don't know how many months. Almost every episode he's talked about how he bought 4 pairs of this Dylan flip-flop, and he loved it so much, but they're all wearing out, and he needs a new pair, and they don't make it anymore. They discontinued the brand. Okay? So this is kind of a big deal for him. He's like, you know, I really love this flip-flop, and I've tried others, and I'm not a huge fan, and I really want this one back, and I wonder if there's a way to convince them to make some more. I mean, you know, he's like, hey, I got somewhat of an outreach here. Maybe I can reach somebody. He's like, hey, I'll put this out here. If anybody here knows somebody from Freewaters Sandals, you know, get them to listen to this and tell them, you know, I love their flip-flops and I'd like some more. And I mean, I'd be willing to pay for it. If it costs some money for them to reproduce it, that'd be great. I don't care. But I want to buy a bunch. Like, I want to buy some for me. I want to buy some to give away. And they got in this whole thing. Okay, so this guy apparently heard this and decided, well, I can reach out to Bert. Sure, why not? We can make something happen. I mean, you know, he reached out. He's like a co-founder. Him and his buddy started this company. And he comes on and they do a podcast together. And he brings them some different types of shoes that they've made. And they talk about, in the podcast, they talk about possibly coming out with the Dylan again, but maybe making a little tweak to it to make it a little bit better. And, you know, as I'm watching it, I'm thinking, okay, so here's the power of being a celebrity. Here's the power of having an outreach and a volume of listeners. Is you can say something like that, and someone hears it and they go, you know what, I didn't realize that we had such a fan. I didn't realize that we had a fan base. And even this guy mentions in the podcast, I watched the thing on YouTube. I wanted to watch it rather than listen to it because I knew they were going to show off different types of flip-flops and stuff like that. And so I watched it on YouTube. And listen, Halston did a great job of the intro with the way the new graphics look, the way the intro starts. And he's done something different with the cameras now to where it goes back and forth between people when they talk. I don't know how they do that. I'd love to learn how they do that because that would be really cool if I could do that here. I mean, listen, this is grassroots version of what they're doing there. I get that. They have people that are in the know and they're sharing information with each other and they're like, listen, this is what I found out. You got to imagine, Bert started out with just him and Tom Segura and Joey Diaz at a get-together, and they literally just turned the microphones on and started talking. And in that process, he's come into contact with a lot of people who do podcasts, and they're like, listen, this is what we do. And he's like, oh, that's great. I'd love to do that. Okay, so fast forward to me watching it and going, oh, maybe I can figure out how to do this on my own. And I've tried to watch a lot of YouTube videos where people do things, and I've tried to take hints from what they do. Meanwhile, Bert gets to go to some of the best podcasters that are out there, including Joe Rogan, who by far has probably the best setup. And he gets to ask questions. Hey, what kind of microphones are you using? What kind of microphone stands are you using? What kind of program are you running through there? What cameras are you using? How do you get it to flip from that camera to this camera? Like, he can ask all the technical questions from the guys who are doing it the best. Okay? And that's really cool. I got asked yesterday, because I bumped into somebody I work with, and he said, hey, are you still doing the podcast? I said, yeah. He goes, how did you get started? I said, with just my phone. He's like, yeah, but how did you get from there to where you are now? And I was like, well, you just sort of add on pieces and you learn. And I kind of talked to him about the steps that I took. And in the meanwhile, I'm also thinking in my brain, what's the next step for me? How do I do this differently? How do I upgrade this a little bit? And you guys that have been paying attention, you've seen me do iterations of this, whether I'm using this soundboard thing that I bought, or the microphones, or I at one time had a USB microphone that plugged into the side of the computer that worked sometimes, and sometimes it just went. So it's a learning experience. And I would like to have a community of people that I could talk to about how do I do this, how do I do that. I can ask, I would like to be able to ask people that are doing it a little better than I am so I could learn the next steps. Because listen, one of the things I learned from Adam Carolla, he talks about the fact that if you have loser friends, you're going to have a loser life. If you want a better life, start making better friends. Because successful people love to share ideas with you. They love to share what works for them. They want to give freely of, hey, this is what I found out works. Whereas your loser friends just want to be losers. I mean, let's face it. You have some people that never grow up. You have some people that their goal in life is just to get high. You have some people in life that just want to make enough so that they can play video games all their life. And that's it. But if you want more, make better friends. Reach out to people who are more successful than you and say, hey, can you show me how to do this? I'm really interested in it. And you'll be surprised at what you get back. So, anyway, back to the subject. So this guy comes on Bert's podcast and they talk a lot about flip-flops. Matter of fact, if you want to turn it into a drinking game and die, take a drink every time they say the word flip-flop. It's a lot. But you learn a little bit about how they got started, how they developed. And I'll be honest, watching it, I secretly wanted to be able to find these flip-flops and try them on and see how they feel. Because, listen, I'm always in the mood to buy some decent footwear. There's times where I like to just stroll around in some flip-flops. I had a sandal that I got married in that I really liked, made by a company called Bass. And it was this big, hulking piece of leather. It was very cumbersome and very heavy, but I got into a groove with it. It fit my foot well, and I wore it so much that you could see my foot in it even when my foot wasn't in it. And it just fit me right. It was comfortable. Even though it was heavy, I would flip it with I'd sit at the table and kind of flick it around with my feet and kind of just, I don't know how to describe it. It was something I could fidget with, and they would never really fall off. They would get loose, but I could flip them back on easily. And I liked them. I liked them a lot. And I wore those things for probably 12 years before they finally fell apart. They were good sandals. But when they finally fell apart, it was like, okay, well, I'm done with these. Let me go see if I can find some more. So I went online and I tried to find them. Nope. They don't make those anymore. Apparently they weren't a big hit with a lot of people, so they just quit making them. Or maybe they made them so durable that other people came along and was like, well, I don't need any for another 10 years. Why keep making the thing that nobody's buying again, right? Sort of a victim of your own success in a way. Which I don't even know if it was that successful, or if I just got lucky and found the one sandal that I liked. But since then, I've bought a few other types of shoes like that, like a slide-on sandal or a flip-flop of sorts, to see what works and what I'm comfortable with. I bought some that I liked, and they looked good, they felt good, until you walked in them. There's something about that piece that fits in between your big toe and your next toe. It just scratched that part so rough that I hated them. I mean, I barely wore them. And after they sat in the closet for a good year or so, I was like, okay, good reason to donate these. So I donated them. I picked up a new pair of sandals this past year. I was actually walking through Sam's Club, and they had some for sale, and I tried them on, and they're decent. They're not bad. I don't mind them. I say I don't mind them is kind of a way of saying I don't love them, but they're okay. They're all right. They're just a slip-on sandal. It's all right. I bought a pair of Crocs, my first pair of Crocs. I know I'm way late to the game. I'm like 10 years past when people were all on the Crocs phase. I bought a pair of Crocs, and I've been wearing those out. Those are my bum around the garage, bum around the house shoes. I'll wear them in public once in a while. but even I'm aware of the fact that they're really ugly. Uh, and they're getting worn out. Like if I look on the bottom, you can tell that I've been wearing them a lot because the bottoms are getting worn out. And I don't know, I'll probably buy another pair in the future, but I really would like to try on these Freewaters Sandals and see what's available. I mean, listen, you got one set of feet. Why not take care of them, right? And I like the company. I like the guy. I like the story. I like the fact that Bert's into it. I mean, this guy mentioned the fact that they made a lot of missteps when they got started. You know, he's like, listen, we started back in 2003, 2002, somewhere in that range. He said, we took out full-page articles in Surfer Magazine, and we thought, yeah, we've really made it. We're in print magazine. We forgot about the fact that everybody's switching over to digital. We had no sense of what was going to sell and how to reach people the most. And he said, the thing about print is, when you put a print ad in there, you don't know if anybody's even looked at it. And if they look at it, are they even going to engage? Are they going to turn around and then buy? And that's something the internet does that print does not. And he's like, we made a lot of missteps. We really screwed up. And, we've had some ups and downs with that. And he talks about how they have no idea what they're doing with their social media presence. And Bert was like, oh, I'm on top of this. You let me get involved and I'll blow up your company. I'll make sure that people know who you are, and I'll make sure that people have access to it. And, Bert's a grand idea kind of person. He loves to declare big proclamations. And he's like, I'm telling you, you make this Dylan by Christmas time, I can sell 5,000 pairs in a show. And it's like, what? And he goes, trust me, the people that come to my shows would spend the money on this. And he's right. He's absolutely right. If I went to a show and Bert was selling these and I didn't have a pair, I would seriously consider getting some just because Bert endorses it. I don't even know what they feel like. But, it sort of supports him and supports this company he believes in. And, if he likes them that much, hey, they're probably pretty decent. That's the celebrity endorsement you want. Like, he's not getting anything from them up to this point. He posted back in 2014 and showed it on the screen there. Halston brought it up on the screen. Back in 2014, he started talking about how he loved the flip-flops. And, oh my God, you got to try these out. They're really awesome. And he sort of like, takes the time to mention things that he likes because he wants other people to experience it. He's like, listen, why not pay it forward? Why not tell people about things that are cool? Maybe it'll help them with whatever they're doing. I say that as I'm wearing my King Hefe t-shirt here. I don't know if you guys can see that on the YouTube in the video. I'm going to King Hefe today with my mom and hopefully my wife if she can get away from doing a online interview. Hopefully that'll be quick and easy and painless, and then she can join us for lunch. That would be awesome. But, I'm going up to King Hefe today. I talk about King Hefe all the time. They don't give me anything for it. I don't want anything for it. I'm talking about a place that I like to eat at. And listen, I talk about it, and also I secretly hope that people listen to this and go, yeah, I'll check it out one day, so that you guys aren't crowding it up so that I can still get in there. Because I tell you what, there's sometimes I try to get in there and it's packed out the door. But it's still my favorite place, and I want them to stay busy, and I want them to keep doing what they're doing so that I can keep enjoying their delicious tacos. Listen, it's selfish reasons. I'll admit it. It's selfish reasons. I want them to do well so I can keep enjoying them. But if you're ever in Florence, South Carolina, check them out. Just saying. They have a new pizza place opening up soon, Pizza Mio. I wonder if I can get Kyle on here to talk about it. They're getting ready to open up, I believe, because they've already got signs on the front and back of the building. They're they're across the street from West Florence High School near the Walmart there. There's like a little shopping thing in between, and they got signs up, and I'm excited. Because talking to Kyle, he was saying that it's a lot like Mod Pizza or Blaze, where you pay one price for the size of the pizza and you just get toppings on it. And I love that. I love the fact that it's the same kind of cooking deal, Big cooking oven, really hot temperatures, slide it in, about 4 or 5 minutes around the circle, and it's done. The crust is crispy, everything's cooked just perfect. You can usually eat for about $10 for a pizza and a drink. I went to Mod Pizza while I was working out of town this past Sunday, and I got a pizza and a drink for like $10.06. and it was delicious. It was beautiful too. I took pictures of it and put it on Instagram. I was like, ooh, this is nice. Sent it to my wife. I was like, hey, eat your heart out. She's like, oh, well, you do love that pizza. I was like, yeah, you would too if you had a piece. Anyway, thin crust, delicious, yummy, yummy, yummy. I'm way off topic here. I know you guys are like, hey, Josh, how about focus? Will you focus? So let's talk for a minute about Bert again. I tried to get tickets for his Body Shots World Tour coming through this fall. Okay, he's coming to North Charleston on October the 10th, which is a Thursday, and he talks about it on his podcast a lot. About go on his website, check it out, bert.com, and look up tour. And when you click on it, it takes you directly to Ticketmaster. Okay, so Ticketmaster, the best seats that are available are in the back of the auditorium. I mean, the very back of the auditorium. And I'm like, well, geez, did they sell that quickly? I mean, come on. How is that possible? So I kind of gave up right away. I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to that. Maybe he sold out so much that they're going to have a second show. And if they do, maybe I can jump in right away when they start selling the second show. Well, that hasn't happened. I don't know if it's the fact that it's on a Thursday night or if it's the fact that he hasn't advertised that much about being in Charleston. But there's still a lot of tickets available, apparently. Not through his website. There's very few available on his website. I started looking around last night at different websites. GoodSeatTickets.com, SeatGeek, StubHub, all these other ones. I made a video about it. It's on YouTube. Check it out. There is a company I found that had the best price, and I'm looking to possibly buy tickets to that show. But I made a video talking about, who else would want to go. I mean, because I know people in this area who like Bert and want to see, his comedy. But it would require taking that Friday off and possibly that Thursday. I mean, you figure if the show starts at whatever time it is, I don't know if it's 7 or 9. Anyway, you need to be down in Charleston in time to watch it. And you probably need to take the next day off unless you live there, right? So it would take a little bit of an investment because you got to get a hotel room, and you figure there's going to be food and drinks and the price of the ticket and possibly the price of an Uber. So a lot of things to consider there, but it could be fun. So if you're listening to this and you're in the area and you're thinking about doing it, hit me up. Let me know. Maybe we can get like a row together and kind of have a fun experience together. Hey, if it's people I know really well, maybe we could rent a house and split the money, and that way it wouldn't be super expensive. We can order an Uber with like a minivan or something. I don't know. Just an idea. I'm throwing that out there. Maybe one of you has like a wife who's pregnant and she can't drink, but it's like she was like, I want to go. I'll drive. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that'd be great. I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe somebody's involved that knows that. Maybe you know somebody. Spread the word and talk about it. See what you think. Hit me back up. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. I didn't get into anything such as the mass shootings. I didn't get into the black hole stuff. I didn't get into the fact that NASA just said they saw a shining blip of a light from the center of our galaxy. I didn't get into any of that. I didn't get into Bernie Sanders or the weird reply that I got from somebody talking about a purge. Very disturbing. I didn't get into any of that. Maybe next time. So, y'all take care. Special thanks to Champ for the funny voicemail. I laughed so hard it hurt. I'm going to have to try to get you guys on and do another one here soon. But for everybody else, thanks for listening. Hope you guys take care. And remember to rate, review, subscribe, and share with your friends. And don't forget to cue the cow. Bye, y'all.